Lighten.
All right, small duty. Well, good morning. Some things to share with you today. The title of our time together is the Silent One Within Us. And it's such a beautiful idea, such a huge concept to embrace. And months ago, I go through different texts of Ernest Holmes, and I pull these titles that speak to me, and I share them with Mary, and we design how it's going to unfold. And so this particular one fell upon me, and then I thought, well, what is there to say? It's all about being silent. How can I address that topic in such a way that it really invokes the idea, the passion behind that concept? And so I went into one of those not so stressful blocks where nothing was happening, nothing. Yesterday I kept saying, today is the day I do this talk. Nothing. Charlie, I can't do that. I'm doing the talk. Can't. Nothing. 3 hours he's out moving some bark. And I walk out and he goes, well, how you doing? He goes, you got the first one done? I said, nothing. And he goes, well, you've got something, a quote or something? Nothing. And it's 5 o'clock. And I started to really get that stirring inside of me, like, what if that was it? What if last time I spoke was it? I think of that Leonard Cohen song, you know, let me speak no more. And I thought, I didn't mean it. And then I was really, getting kind of worked up with a big bubble in my tummy, because I thought, what's it going to be like to stand up here and do what I'm doing? And so I said, Charlie, I need a treatment. I need prayer to support me. And so he sits down and washes over me the most powerful treatment. Amongst you, you have the most powerful practitioner named Charlie Bourne. And as he spoke the treatment, my mind was flashing on other events of the day that had my attention. So I said, I got it, Charlie. Even before he was done, I says, I got it. And I went back into the pile of books all around me that I was, trying to find that right inspiration. And I start with the idea behind what Ernest Holmes was saying, and our inspiration this month is coming from living the science of mind. The Science of Mind text has pearls of wisdom that anytime you open the page, it will speak to you. But the Science of Mind pulls that even deeper in such a way where they write different ideas from the concept. So this is all that the chapter says about the silent one within us. And I shared it at the earlier service. It's potent, so I want to share it with you again, because it starts saying this. We find the saying in the Upanishad, the silent one, the knower, ever resting in us, may walk, stand, sit, lie down, and not do anything at his sweet will. And in the Bible it says, I will work, and who shall hinder it? But what are these but statements of the absoluteness of the Supreme as the all-conquering power of Spirit? And this all-conquering power of the Spirit finds this self-expression through man. So the reading kept pointing to us that the presence of life is at the point of our own consciousness. So I have to keep reminding you, where is your point of consciousness as you walk the spiritual path? It's not something from outside of you. It's something, as you come in here together as community, you take your seat with that divine knowing, with that seat of consciousness, that supreme center within you as you. And you come to that place for guidance. You come to that place for absolute trust. I went to that place yesterday in a divine knowing that this day will unfold with grace as all days do. And so as Charlie was giving me the most beautiful prayer, and I was feeling myself soften, and I was allowing myself to dwell in that place of silence afterwards, I had the beautiful recall. I had an experience yesterday of doing a wedding for a couple that attends here, and they had their wedding right out here using our wedding steps. What was so spectacular about this wedding was they used our oaks as the beauty. The landscape team, all of Diana and Roy and Charlie, mowed and made it really beautiful the day before, so the grounds were pristine in that way. But then nature was there. We had some hornets in the grass, and so we're all like, ooh, the hornets, right where the people are going to sit. And so Charlie goes, well, I'll just go buy some spray. And I said, oh, I can see that during the ceremony. Psst, 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 psst. There's another one, because there was hundreds of them. And I thought, that's not going to work. And then so he went to research it online, and he found, this is a nice way. It's just nature. Let it be. And I said, yeah, there's harmony in all things, and we'll just not do the worry, or suddenly everybody's being stung and zapped, but that grace will move those out of the way, and the wedding will unfold without that worry. The other beautiful thing was the simplicity of the bride, and she had herself walk in with her 2 children. So as Charlie was doing the treatment, everything that we visioned for this center, to have those grounds back there be holy ground for ceremony, I was witnessing it. And so here I'm standing between the oaks on the steps, and the bride comes down with her 2 children, leading the way, but before her was the special little niece that was just about this big, carrying this basket, and so proud, just so proud. And she walked. I have never seen a flower girl do it, because usually they space out, they freak out. There's people, I'm not doing it. This is silly. And they run off, but not her. She walks with her basket. She knew her cues. She knew when to drop each little flower along the pathway. And then she stood with great dignity at that step. And the rest of the ceremony proceeded in such grace and beauty, all so simple, all so uncluttered with any other detail except the power of love. Afterwards, this little child comes up to me, and she tugs on me. She goes, well, I did it. I did it just like they said, and they said I'd get an award. I'm looking at Charlie, you got anything? I don't know. I was going to give her my necklace, but I was like, I said, I looked at her innocence, and I thought, that's how we are in life. I've done my spiritual practice, where's my reward? And I looked at her and I said, all in God's time. I said, your day's not done yet. You get to continue to be an exceptional human being today. And sometime today, there's going to be surprise. And then I ran to find her father and said, do something. I mean, she really did her part. And, it was just a lesson to me to know that we do our part. We show up, right? We show up. We do the best we can in the moment. And we recognize that we will, by divine grace, reap the rewards that are promised in every scripture, in every sacred reading that there is ever written. This silent one, this knower, ever resting in us, is resting in us, waiting to have that dialogue, waiting to take over within you. And I think I was having so much angst because before this wedding, I had the pleasure of sharing that with the week before with Chris and whatever your name is, Diana. Sorry, I'm just kidding. And that's one thing when you're doing weddings. Okay, make sure I get the names right. But the beauty, these weddings were just unfolding. So I was dreaming weddings, and I was dreaming I couldn't get there. Now the only wedding I was ever late to was, of course, Reverend Mary's and Paul's. No pressure there. I was 45 minutes late, I think. It was horrifying, but because I got lost. But so since then, because that was such a tremendous, I have made it a point to really arrive way ahead of time and be so prepared. But this dream I was having was that this wedding out in the backyard was becoming this hot thing because it was so hot here. And I kept thinking, oh, they wanted to move it inside. It seems reasonable. I couldn't tell reality from the dream. But then it became like a harem in here. There was pillows and silk scarves and things hanging. And I'm like, man, this is really unfolding. And then I couldn't find my words. And I'm thinking, I left them at home. And I didn't have a car, so I'm running home. But it wasn't home. Have you had those dreams? It's not home. It's hotels and alleys and valleys, and you can't find it. Suddenly, Charlie's going to park the car. We have a car. I didn't know. And there's a parking spot right there. I asked for patience in my life. And there's a parking space, and he's going over here. Park the car over here, because he's got the keys. I can't go get the vows. Have you had those kind of dreams? So I was a little anxious. So for the first time, so here at this beautiful wedding yesterday, everything's prepared. The Hornets were behaving themselves. I thought, God, I'm just so nervous. And then that just all unfolded because I watched the moment. You know, George Rogers was playing the song, Ode to Joy. And the way that child walked with such grace, I thought, you know, there's all things taken care of here. I remembered that silent wisdom, just recognizing at the call, have no doubt, that wisdom, that truth will shine inside of you. Never doubt it. Never, ever doubt it. In those moments, you just become still enough. The dreams, those little worries, they just pass away, and there you are in the presence. So this silent one, this knower, is ever resting in us. It's ever present. And this supreme being at the center of us, we come to it for guidance, and from it we may draw both the inspiration and the power to live, to stand, to walk, or sit. These are Ernest Holmes' words. Every act is an outcome of consciousness. Every moment is within the divine being. And since the divine being is everywhere present, it must be at the center of you. Have no doubt of that. It is in the center of you. Have no doubt. It's not only at the center of your life, it is the center. Hence, to think of it as the very essence of your own being is clear thinking. To know that its being is our being is right knowing, and to declare that its life is our life is to permit that power to flow through you as you. So, God is not in all these words I'm saying. And as I shared in the earlier service, my son called right after Charlie did that beautiful treatment for me, and I'm just like, I'm in the zone now. I got it. Clickety-click. And then he calls and he shares with me something that he was doing, walking with just pure intuition and just allowing that intuition to guide him everywhere. And I was telling him, oh, I'm trying to do that here, but I'm just surrounded by these books, trying to pull this together. And he goes, those are crutches. Drop the crutch. And I was like, ooh. From the mouth of my son to my heart, to my knowing, drop the crutches. And so I realized, so empowering is that truth, that when we sit in these areas of blocks, that's the time that we are asked to drop the crutches, to turn within, to use the scripture, yes, to use the wisdom of all the teachings, but to witness the silence between those thoughts, to try to, again, resonate with that divine truth. As Muktananda says, by thinking about scriptures over and over again, all that you've gained is the desire to attain God. And I thought, oh my goodness, coming to church all the time just to attain God when God is everywhere present. God is not these words. He is an extraordinary inner experience. The scriptures belong to him, but he cannot be confined to them. Whatever you allow your consciousness to dwell upon stays inside of you. And I thought, my mind wandered with that. Whatever you allow your thoughts to dwell upon, your consciousness to dwell upon, therefore it stays with you. So bad news stays with you when you dwell upon it. So important to take the news as a prayer request, as Reverend Michael Beckwith would point to. Their prayer requests. They're not to dwell upon and you close the book on a place of worry, but to look at that and say, am I dwelling on the bad news? Am I dwelling in gossip? Am I allowing myself to just really kind of enjoy that space. Oh, guess what? So-and-so did. Oh, and it kind of gets juicy, and so you dwell upon that. Allow, though, to transform those moments, to allow the scriptures to then come alive inside of you. Keep rebirthing, these are Muktananda's words, keep rebirthing the truth. And that's from his book, Meditation Revolution. So this idea of being receptive to this truth. One fascinating book I turned to in my study yesterday was Reverend Mary's book. Thank you, Reverend Mary. I don't know if you know, she's an author of a couple books, but she wrote this beautiful book called Engaging Grace. And I quote from her, "The one who wishes scientifically to work out his problems must daily take the time to meditate and to mentally treat the condition, no matter what the apparent contradictions may be. He is working silently in the law, and the law will find an outlet through his faith in it." Through your faith in it. When I speak of law, never forget it is done unto you as you believe. What are you allowing your thoughts to dwell upon? Gossip or bad news? Or do you choose to see a greater good unfolding always and to say, I lift my heart, I lift my thoughts into that greater good, and know that even here, greater good is unfolding. Love is the greater power. This idea of tapping into this truth, it's already there. It's not anything that you have to conjure up. You just close your eyes and you take a breath. And the breath is your invitation into the soul. You don't judge your thoughts obsessively. This is such an interesting part, because as I've had the time to share with you, I used to go home and just want to take a big stiff drink when I was done, because I thought, man, my mind, I could have said this, I said that person left, and I would just haunt myself with the ridicule and the critiquing. I would drive Charlie nuts. What do you think? How do you think it went? What do you think? Do you like me? And I think, and now he'll say to me, how do you feel about it? And I said, I can't remember. I am blessed by kind words. I have received criticisms, but I don't remember. And it doesn't anchor so much. And even as I was doing the vows, and I did it with Chris and Diana's wedding, and I did it yesterday, I'll feel myself flub up in between, totally not make any sense, but I just keep going because I think maybe they're not listening that much. There's a piece of me, what I'm trying to point to is there's this witness inside of me that can feel my screw-ups, and I'll just think, there that one is. Oh, you want to hang out there for a while and just stop this whole thing and really give it to yourself? No, later. And I keep on talking. I keep on doing the sacred vows, because there's a love that is speaking through me. And my humanness will show through, my flubs will show through. But I don't stop there. I don't want to invest so much time there. Do you? On those moments? They're showstoppers. And so you just think, okay, there's a grace inside of me. There's something truer that is speaking. Carol Lee Flinders, she says, if we want stillness of mind so that something of God can enter us, we must learn how to hold off those conditions' responses. Okay, how do you do that? Practice. Forgiving yourself for the moments where you were unskillful. It was interesting to watch Reverend Sharon with the signing. Did you notice when it came to the tears, they were like this, and then the smile was like this? I'm thinking, well, go figure. Down and up, down and up. And I couldn't wait for that part to come again. Is she going to do it again? Did I get it right? Tears, or laughter. And I thought, how beautiful is that? How true is that? It's that simple, of allowing ourselves to recognize a truth, to dwell within that which we must be nudged because it got our attention. What is rumbling in your soul? What is stirring inside of you that is tapping your heart and saying, pay attention here. Don't dwell here, but pay attention long enough that you emerge with a greater truth, that you emerge with a power and a source of truth that is longing to be expressed through you. Dhyamata took over the organization of self-realization when Paramahansa, an organization that he started. And she says this, remember always, always that God is dealing directly with what is in your heart. So fear comes up. God is dealing with that for you, with you, as you, through you. So you're not alone. Comforting, isn't it to know? Isn't it to know there's something greater that you can tap into? Always God is dealing directly with what is in your heart. And Goldsmith fan over here, but Goldsmith said there's no power in the visible world in anything that exists in our mind as an objective thing that is not power. Those things do not have any power. Those little small voices that nag at you and tear you apart and critique you, they do not have the power. The power dwells within the God knowing inside of you, and you find that through the power of silence. Let us never fear, Goldsmith says, an image in our mind, whether that image is a person, a disease, or even a bomb. Big stuff to ask you to do here. That still small voice in the midst of us, that still small voice is mightier than all of these. And if we can become so silent that that voice can utter itself, even if only as a deep breath or a sense of peace or warmth, this earth will be filled with the voice of God, and the belief in two powers will be silenced. It is just simply within that breath. That gives me chills to know that our work here as a community of great love and passion, it's just uttering that still small voice, that breath. It's right there. I am God, therefore you be still and rest, for I will be with you unto the end of the world. You rest and relax and be silent. I could say that the moment that little chirping would go through my mind saying, you just kind of really messed up that sentence. Are you sure you're marrying the right couple? I could have been doing all of that and really got hung up. But no, I remembered that the next breath, God is with me in these holy moments of sacred ritual. It's a blessing to stand there as the conduit of that truth, to be asked to serve as the minister where families join together, where love is expressed in its truth. I relax and I let that voice be silent. Something greater than myself goes before me. Ernest Holmes speaks to that. Goldsmith points to that again and again. Clear the way. Something greater is going before you. It's moving within you. And so if we can just sacrifice that part of ourselves and allow for this joy and this fulfillment to be made manifest, we rest, and God does the work. That's the miracle. That's where the miracles happen, and that's all from the thunder of silence. And in closing, a while back I had shared with you that I wanted to talk to you about the tea story. And I'm not going to read the whole story because I'm getting the sign again. But I want to share this. It kept coming to me. And the 2 Cups of Tea was written by Carlos Valls when he was in India. So the first part of this story is he's a guest in the home. He's going to do his writing in this home. And the master comes in with 2 cups of tea. It's in the early morning. They sit. It's a ritual in India, and it's a sacred ritual. And the tea is poured, and they take the sip of the tea, and it's all done in silence. And this communion begins with such heart and such intention. It's not filled with, hi, how are you today? What are you going to do today? Oh, it's a hot one, None of that. It's this depth of silence is the invitation. And then the conversation was deep, and it was birthed from that silence. It was stirred from the silence. And when the conversation was over, the teacups were gathered, and the master left the author to do his work. And the author reflected on that through the entire day. He said, that made the whole difference in my day. So day number 2 comes, and it starts to happen again. I'm going to pick up the story right there because I thought to myself, that's how I feel sometimes when I've had a chance to share with you that the talk, somebody said, that was just for me. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm so glad God showed up for you today and you had ears to hear. And so I get to that point, like I said at the beginning, was that my time to be silent and I say no more? And so this story of the teacups reminds me of it. He picks up, I sat down on my work and my host at the same time appeared at my door with the tray in his hand and 2 cups of tea. The previous day's scene was to be reenacted again. You see? We sometimes go into an experience expecting the same thing to happen. I took my cup thoughtfully and warmed up inside of me for the encounter. The memory of yesterday was fresh in my mind, and I wanted to live up to it. Yesterday, our private tea ceremony had proved deeply satisfying, and today it could be no less. As I began to taste my tea, I reflected inside of me that yesterday it was he who had started the intimate sharing, and so today it was my turn. I had to find something important to say, something personal, something moving, something to match his performance of yesterday. You been there? I started casting about in my mind for some such opening, at first gently, and then as the moments went by, nothing worthwhile occurred to me. Oh, I had that yesterday. Somewhat nervously, I had to come up with something of note, something said to draw our feelings out and coax our dialogue. I could not let this occasion slip by without making the most of it, as I knew it could be done and had been done yesterday. I would never forgive myself if, considering the next few days I was going to be here, I had let this precious opportunity pass without bringing it to its full value. The level of the tea in the cup had begun to go down. What could I do before it was too late? What could I do before it's too late? Have you been there at that very moment? Then, in the midst of my inner agitation, I had a moment of calm. I had the good sense to look at him as he sat in front of me, holding his cup in his hand. I saw his face was calm and composed. There was no anxiety, no expectation, no demand that I should come up with an intimate confidence, that I should speak at all. He was just taking his tea in thoughtful recollection, in silent communion, in self-fulfilled presence. There was no need to talk. There was no need to think, no need to be agitated, no need to worry. I calmed down. So let's calm down into that knowing. Wherever you are, whatever is before you, whatever's in your teacup, calm down and know that you sip with the one. The one is drinking that tea with you. And in the moment of that deep calm, here is your faith established as truth. God speaks through you. So as we close our eyes and we recognize this companion of grace, of truth, of light, of power, of love, this truth that sings so beautifully in the music today, that is in between the silence of my words, in the stillness of each and every one sitting here today. God lives, the power, the truth emerges as we speak. So we let go of all agitation, all worry, because we recognize right here and now that we are at the point of consciousness for this truth to be revealed. It is done unto us this day, and this day we glorify God in our body, in our words, in our truth, in our moments of silence. So our rewards await us, but we recognize it's already given. Thank you, God, and so it is.